Very high-ranking Democrat from California, Linda Sanchez, wants to overhaul the party's leadership. Speaking to reporters, she said this: "There's a real breadth and depth of talent. I think it's time for that generational change." Joining us now, Fox News contributor Karl Rove. It seems to me that she objects to, that Linda Sanchez is objecting to the age of Democrat leadership, Nancy Pelosi, etc., etc. But I'm not aware of younger, second-tier talent. I don't know those names. Do you?
Well, one of them she thinks is her. She's the youngest member of the Democratic leadership. She has already made, at the beginning of the last congressional session opening, moves to try and climb up the ladder, so to speak, and she has put herself on the wrong side of Nancy Pelosi before and been sort of isolated. So Congresswoman Sanchez is talking about herself as well as others and hoping that something will happen in January, win or lose, that causes the people above her in the chain to move aside and let her move up.
In the Democrat leadership, is it age or policy that the younger people object to? And are those younger people trying to drag the party even further to the left? Now, I realize you're a Republican, but you're commenting on the Democrats, so go, have at it.
Yeah, well, look, really good question. First of all, remember the Democrats operate more on the seniority than do the Republicans. For example, the Republicans limit the number of years that you could be a committee chair, and that causes a lot more turnover as a result of that. We've got a number of Republican committee chairs retiring this year. Why? Because they've been committee chairs and they're unlikely to be a committee chair again. Lamar Smith, a friend of mine from Texas, for example, has been the chairman of 3 committees. He's not likely to get a 4th, so he's retiring. Democrats don't have those rules. That's why on most committees in the House, the ranking Democrat member is older than the Republican chairman of that committee. So now, your question was about the Democrats. Inside the Democrats, there are 2 groups. There's a group of let's call them sort of Midwesterners who say, in order to win control and maintain control of the House, we have to be able to fit the districts, and that means we need to tolerate people who have different views on guns and abortion and who might be more moderate. But then you also have this new element that says the problem with the Democratic leadership is twofold. It's too old, and it's not far enough left, the resistance faction. And it's going to be interesting to see after the election what happens among Democrats. What's the mix of new members who are following people like Tim Ryan and Seth Moulton, who are in the former group? Let's make certain that we represent our districts and have a more diverse Democratic Party, and those who represent sort of the left wing of the party, who have been gaining some victories in recent primaries, namely the one in New York where the 3rd-ranking Democrat in the House was, or 4th-ranking Democrat in the House was knocked off Congressman Crowley in the Democratic primary there.
My bet is that if the Democrats do not retake the House, there'll be a full-scale mass movement to the left.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Real fast, Brett Kavanaugh, I think of him as an establishment Republican. Forgive me for saying that, but that's the way I look at the man. And I think you are a Republican, an establishment Republican. I'm not being pejorative here, but is that why you like
yes, you
Kavanaugh?
are. Yes, you are.
No, no.
Yes, you are.
No,
well, look, Brett Kavanaugh is a strong conservative. He's a friend of mine. We work together in the White House. I have enormous respect for his intellectual abilities, and his record on the court is one of strong, proper, appropriate, conservative judicial decisions, limiting the power of the judiciary and expanding the power of our elected representatives. I think he'd be a marvelous justice.
Are you taking issue with me because I said that maybe you're an establishment Republican?
I have no idea what an establishment Republican is, with all due respect. I think it is a pejorative term tossed out by people who are not in the party leadership in order to sort of castigate those that are in leadership. And I'm a Fox News contributor and Wall Street Journal columnist and an activist, a volunteer activist with a super PAC. How I end up being, quote, establishment Republican is beyond me. But incidentally, despite that, I'm joining you in pulling for Croatia, mainly because they beat the Russians and certainly not because they beat the 3 Lions. I was hopeful that England would make it. Yeah. I knew you'd be cheered by that, but I'm going to be with you in Croatia when they face La Vive la France.
Look,
very good.
How could I possibly support the French in any battle of any kind? But I support Croatia because I'd love to see this small nation of 4 million people win it all. I think that will be the capper on a wonderful soccer tournament. Karl, I'm sorry I ever said anything about the establishment Republicans, and I take it all back. You're all right, Karl, and we'll see you again soon. Got it?
Thank you, Stuart.